here. Oops. There. Okay, we're in Unit 20. Unit 20 introduces you to a whole bunch of scattered random things. It's like, since it's the last book in the book, it's as though the author has made a list of all the, it's all the crumbs that fell off the table. It's a bunch of things that don't have a lot to do with each other, but are good to know. So the first one is these weird verbal adjectives, okay? The book has a bad way of accounting for the formation of them. We put a few of them, Belisi's put a few of them on the blackboard. Their adjectives derive from the root of the verb. So, and you shouldn't pay attention to the rules in the book. They make a list on pages 688 and 689 of about 20 of them that don't follow their rules. So even their system is bankrupt. So let's stick with the notion. Notionally, it's a verbal root with a suffix teos. Okay, and we'll talk about the syntax of them. So you got luo lu teos aon, didume dot teos aon, archo arch teos. You can't have a chi there. In Greek, the chi gets assimilated before the tau into an unaspirated consonant. And the same with grapho graph teos instead of graph teos. So formally, I don't think these things are challenging. You can see the root that they're from and make a good guess about what they mean. So let's talk about the syntax of them. There are basically two ways of constructing them in sentences. One in which they are adjectives that are modifying other nouns, and then they're active forms. So that's the first example up there. Tauta poieta estin hemin. Okay? I mean, these ones are passive, sorry. The ones when they're, when they are adjectives modifying other nouns in the sentence, they're passive. So tauta poieta estin hemin means these things are to be done by us. It's a dative of agent, hemin, and tauta is the subject, poieta is the adjective agreeing with it. Estin is your neuter, since it's a neuter plural subject, you have a singular verb. So these things are to be done by us. Or you could translate it, we must do these things, turning it into an active statement. Okay? The other model is exemplified by the second sentence up here, in which you've got Socrate, dative singular of Socrates, dikein, accusative singular of dike in the sense of punishment, doteon, your verbal adjective in the neuter nominative singular, and estin, third person singular verb, to be. So what's happened is you have an impersonal construction. Tauta poieta is a personal construction, if you will, in which the adjective is modifying another noun or pronoun. This one is impersonal, but you can't readily translate this into English as an impersonal verb. I think the best way to understand these things is to translate the impersonal construction as active. There is an obligation on the part of Socrates to pay the penalty. Okay? So, doteon estin, there is an obligation to pay or to give a penalty. Pay the penalty is the idiom. To pay the penalty, dikein, on Socrates. So notice that it's active. It's not to be paid, the penalty to be paid. You've got a direct object of it. Whereas in tauta poieta, it's an adjective that's passive. So let's look at some more examples, Belisi. There we go. Here we have hemin tauta rapteon estin. Again, the impersonal construction. There is an obligation on our part, hemin, to us, to write these things. Okay? There.
You can keep going, right?
Okay. On our part. That's the he mean, the dative of agent, and tauta is the direct object. Okay, and who mean tutus lutea estin. What's happened is that we've got, instead of lutea, you have a fluctuation between the neuter accusative or neuter nominative singular of these verbal adjective, grapteon, and the neuter nominative plural. Notice the verb will remain singular because effectively it's agreeing, the estin is agreeing with lutea in some way, but you see both, okay? So it's not just neuter nominative singular, but neuter nominative plural. So this means there is an obligation on your part, Hubin, to release these people. Okay. And the last variation on this weird syntax is when the personal agent is not in the dative, but in the accusative case, which is a little bit mind-boggling. But so the last sentence means, on us, tauta grapte honestin, there's an obligation to write these things. You've got, in effect, a direct object and a second object that's secondary. Interesting grammar, but strange. Okay, so the key thing, just to sum up, when they're agreeing with other nouns, these adjectives are passive. When they're in an impersonal construction, neither the neuter nominative or singular or plural, they are expressive actively of an obligation, and they often govern a dative of agent, sometimes an accusative of agent, and a direct object.